Hiya! So in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how you can make this gorgeous ruffle hair bow. I've got everything here that I need. So I've got my hot glue gun, I've got a lighter to heat seal the ribbon and my lined clip to attach the bow to. I've got 4 pieces of ribbon in 2 different widths, a needle threaded with some strong thread and I've popped a knot in the end, a rhinestone trim which I've already ironed on a piece of ribbon ready to wrap the centre of the bow, and I've got my scissors. Feel free to screenshot this now. This is showing you the lengths of the ribbon to make 2 different sizes in this bow. I'm going to be making the 3.5 inch one today, so you will need 4 pieces of ribbon all together and they are in 2 different widths. So the first 2 pieces are 4 centimetres or 1.5 inch wide ribbon, cut to 30 centimetres or 12 inches in length, and then the other 2 pieces are 2.5 centimetre or 1 inch wide ribbon, and these 2 are cut to 20 centimetres or 8 inches in length. So once you've cut your 4 pieces of ribbon, you will need to cut in some angles on the corners. So as you can see on these 2 1-inch pieces, I've cut in these diagonals so they're symmetrical on both sides, so cutting up from the bottom in this way. We're going to do the same on the 2 1.5 inch wide ribbons now. So from the bottom corner, I'm going to aim up diagonally and just trim off that corner. It doesn't matter too much how big the angle is, just cut the corner off. And then on this side I'm cutting down towards the bottom corner so it's symmetrical, and then taking my lighter I'm going to heat seal these raw edges, and this will get rid of any frays and prevent any further fraying. And then we're going to do the same on our 4th piece. So again, cutting from the bottom corner up diagonal, so obviously I'm doing this side first. I'm cutting down towards the bottom corner on this side, and on this side I'm cutting up from the bottom corner. So you've got the same length all across the bottom, but you've made the top shorter. Again, I'm going to heat seal these raw edges to prevent any fraying using my lighter. So now we have all of these ends the same, cut up diagonally and heat sealed. So now we're ready to make our ruffle bow. Taking my needle and thread now, which I've already threaded with some strong thread and a knot in the end. If you haven't got strong thread, you can double it up like I have this one, and yeah, pop your knot in the end. So we're going to start on one of these larger pieces, so the 1.5 inch wide, and from this bottom corner we're going to just start sewing in and out all the way along. So just in and out, in and out. When you get to this corner here, you just want to follow it round, so just curve it round and just keep weaving your needle in and out. Then once you get so far, you will have to pull that thread all the way through. And as you can see, my stitches are about 0.5 centimetre from the edge of the ribbon as well. So yeah, they're about 0.5 centimetre spaced in between each stitch and about 0.5 centimetre from that top edge. So yeah, just keep doing this now all the way until you get to the other corner. So skipping ahead now, as you can see, I'm now coming to that last corner. So again, I'm going to follow this corner round and down that diagonal that we cut all the way down to the wider bottom corner, and then you want to come out through the bottom corner. So coming out through the bottom corner, I'm now going to pull this thread all the way through, and that will then cinch all the ribbon together and create that gorgeous ruffle look. So I've pulled this enough now, I think. I've just pulled it a little bit because now we're going to start on our second piece. So taking the second 1.5 centimetre piece, we're now going to repeat that step. So going in through the top for our first stitch on the longer, wider bottom corner, and then doing exactly the same, stitching all the way across till we get to the other corner. So I'm continuing with that same piece of thread. So yeah, you do need quite a long piece of thread to do this. So when you do thread your needle, make sure you've made it long enough to sew in all the way across the bottom of the 2 pieces of ribbon. So yeah, you need quite a bit. Again, I've just skipped ahead to save time, but you don't want to see me doing all of those stitches on there. So I'm still on that second piece of 1.5 inch wide ribbon. We're continuing still with that same piece of thread, and I'm on the home run now on these bottom pieces. So sewing my last few stitches now on that last diagonal edge, so all the way down to that bottom corner, and as always coming up from the bottom toward the top for the last stitch, like that, and then pulling it all the way through. This time we can really pull this all the way through to join the 2 halves of the bow together. So as you can see, one half is going to be the left side of the bow, this is going to be the left, this is going to be the right side. So we're going to bring these 2 halves together now. Not only am I pulling on the side with the needle in, but I'm also pulling on the knotted side as well. So I'm pulling on the ends of the threads on both sides. So that will help to form the cinch on both halves evenly. And then I'm just going to flip it back over. And then once you've got that in there, you've pulled it nice and tight, you can then tie this off in a knot. So I'm going to tie it once first of all. So do 1 basic knot first of all, give it a good pull to make sure that ruche is really nice and tight in there. And then once you're happy that that is tight, you can then go ahead and make that into a double knot to seal it off. So this is obviously going to form the bottom half of the bow. The wider ribbon makes the bottom half of the bow, and then the narrow ribbon is going to be the top of the bow. So again, I'm now just tying this off to seal it, and then taking this long end of thread, I'm just going to wrap this around the centre a few times, and that will just help to close that circle in. As you can see, it's kind of formed a circle in the middle, but by wrapping the thread around the middle, that will close that in the middle. So it looks like this now. As you can see, that circle in the middle is now closed off, and we're ready to seal it on the underside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this bottom now a couple of times just to seal it off and hold that all in place, and then I can trim off the excess thread. So I'm going to go in through the bottom, catching a bit of the ribbon, and then pull it all the way through, and then yeah, I'll just go through the loose loop a couple of times to form a knot, and then I can trim it all off. Again, I've just skipped ahead to where I'm trimming off the thread because I got in a little bit of a knot. So yeah, I've sealed it all off on the underside, trimmed off the excess thread, and now I'm just making the 2 halves identifiable. So I'm just giving them a little bit of a squeeze to separate them. So that's the base bow now made, and now we're ready to make the top bow. So taking the 1 inch wide ribbon now, from that bottom longer corner, we're going to again stitch the same way as we did before, stitch that cinch all the way across the ribbon. So yeah, you will need another long piece of thread. I've rethreaded my needle with another nice long piece, enough to do the 2 halves of this ribbon. And yeah, bringing it both together, sealing it off, all the exact same steps as we did with the 1.5 inch wide ribbon. This is just like a mini version. So that's the smaller version now made. Isn't that adorable? That would look actually cute on its own as 2 little piggies. So now we're going to layer these 2 up. So we're going to layer the smaller one on the larger one, making sure you've got the 2 halves lined up. It's hard to see where the middle is because yeah, they're so ruffly. So once you can see where the 2 halves are, I'm going to use a piece of thread to wrap around the 2 pieces to hold them together. So finding the middle, layering them up evenly, wrapping the thread around to hold those in place, wrapping it around a good few times, and then I'm going to tie this in a knot on the bottom. You could just hot glue it on, but yeah, I'm just using thread today. So I'm tying this off on the underside in a double knot, so it's all nice and secure. And then we'll be ready to add our clip and our rhinestone centre. So taking the clip first of all, as you can see I've already lined mine with some matching ribbon. This is a 45mm hair clip which I'm using today. I'm going to hot glue this now on the underside of the bow, so making sure it's central. And now the rhinestones that I've got on my centerpiece, they are hot fix, so I just used my hair straighteners and clamped it in between to stick the rhinestones onto this ribbon. And these just really finish this bow off. Because it's so ruffly, it needs something to sort of separate the two halves of the bow, so it looks less sort of like a big rosette and more like a bow, if that makes sense. So yeah, these rhinestones do look gorgeous on these ruffle bows. I will link everything that I've used in this tutorial in the description below, including the rhinestone trim for the centre. So I need to trim these sides down because I've got a little bit too much on there. I need just enough ribbon to hot glue under the clip, so I'm just trimming these down, and then again I'm going to heat seal those raw edges. Ooh, be careful not to set your bow on fire after all that hard work. And then we are going to stick those two ends down under the clip to finish that off. And there is my finished gorgeous ruffle hair bow. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial today. If you did, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and if you press the bell button, that will turn on notifications. I'll be back again soon. Bye everyone.